This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports. You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host Keith Angle on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Everybody, Keith Angle for TGI Sports Talks. Are you serious? With my co-host, the Mad New Yorker. He'll be joining me in a few minutes, hopefully. And we'll be covering a couple topics today. We're going to dive into the Josh Donaldson, Tim Anderson squabble. Much ado about nothing. I mean, look, I've got opinions on both sides of this story. I think it's two knuckleheads. I think it's blown out. The racial proportion, maybe the racial portion may be blown out of proportion a bit. And I don't dismiss it, by the way. But, you know, these are two knuckleheads. And again, we'll dive into it. We're going to talk about Colin Kaepernick getting a workout for the Raiders. You know, God bless Colin Kaepernick. If he can play in the league, let him play. But my stance has always been he can't play anymore. So we'll talk into that anymore. If he could play, he'd be in the league. So we'll be talking about that. And we'll also dive into the Kyrie Irving potential non-existent extension talks that may take place with the Nets. He's got a $36 million player option coming up here this summer that he may very well take and make himself a free agent. So we'll see how that goes. We'll have those conversations and who knows, maybe a little bit more about the NBA players if we have time, but we'll have Carlos here in just a second. Listen, I want to thank all of our groups again, as I like to do, who allow me to share this. We'll certainly be reaching out to MLB and NFL and NBA, as well as our generic sports sites who really, I think, drive a lot of the audience. So thank you to all of you guys. You'll see some good content today, as always. The show will be available. And we're live on Facebook. We're live on Twitter. We're live on YouTube. We'll be replaying this on Roku at noon today. It'll be on all the podcast outlets later this weekend. And I would also like to make sure that you're aware of two things that Northeast Streaming Sports is very, very deep into as far as promotion. The first thing and the most, and I'll do this one first only because it's the closest to coming to fruition. On June 27th in Granby, Connecticut, there'll be a fundraiser for Connecticut semi-pro football called Keep the Dream Alive. It's in affiliation. It's Northeast Streaming Sports in affiliation with La Fagata, I know I can't be saying that name right, restaurant. And we'll be there from 3 to 7. Myself, and I don't know how I get in this crew of people. Joe D'Ambrosio, very well-known sports personality on ESPN and throughout Connecticut and other areas. Dallas Cowboy legend and Super Bowl champion Jim Jeffcoat. Boxing Hall of Fame sports writer Jack Walsh will be with us, or Jack Hirsch. Where am I getting Jack Walsh, man? Oh, it's been a week this week. My mind doesn't work. I stopped taking Prevagen because they weren't sending me money to sponsor the show, and I think that's the problem here. John the Iceman Scully, former boxer and current trainer. Mac McGrath, of course, will be there. The Philly sports guy will be there, and Dr. Paul Semendinger, who is a very noted author and Yankee historian, will be there. We'll be doing some live shows. And, oh, by the way, Connecticut Falcons and Enfield Northman players will be there as well. So we'll be doing some live shows. There'll be some raffles. There'll be lots of things to raise money to help this along. And then in August, we have the Dream Ride experience, which I'll play the commercial for on the way out probably today. But that's in August 26th through the 28th. They'll be raising money as they have for the past several years for the Home Front Foundation. It's in Farmington, Connecticut. They've raised over $18 million since they started doing this. $3 million last year. And there's all kinds of events, from fireman competition to police dog competitions, chili cook-offs, all kinds of, and the dream ride. Just started out as a dream ride on motorcycles for kids who are challenged with whatever, I hate to say the word disability. I know we're not supposed to use that today, but it's the only thing I can use to describe it. So it's a great event, and we'll play that commercial on the way out today as well. So keep those dates in mind. They're all great events and fundraisers. So please check out those sites and join us if you have the ability to do so. So with no further ado, let me say a couple quick good mornings. Good morning to Dave Guyette. How are you? And Kenny Gifford, good morning up on the mountain. And let me bring in my co-host, the Mad New Yorker, Carlos Chavez. Good morning, Carlos.
Morning, Keith. How you doing?
I am.
Good morning, everybody.
How you doing?
Just got a bug a few days ago, so I'm trying to get over it because this weekend is packed for me. So
bugs are no good.
No, wanted to squash it fast, but it didn't happen.
A lot of people sick around, so be safe out there, people.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, it's not COVID. COVID's not gone, obviously, and I know a lot of people with it, but the people that get sick are basically have got cold symptoms, so they've been very lucky.
I got COVID a few weeks back, and this bug hit me harder than COVID.
There you go. So again, there's always going to be, the flu's not going away, guys.
Yeah.
Just be safe out there. You can live
if
your life.
I tap out, I'll let you know.
If you need to, don't worry.
Yeah.
I understand if you have to. So anyway, we're going to jump into a couple topics today, as I talked about at the Open, and I want to start with the in baseball with the Josh Donaldson, Tim Anderson dust up. Goes back a little ways. Personally, I think. I said this at the top too. I don't discount the racial issues in this country and the potential racial undertones here, but I think it's overblown. I think it's two knuckleheads who crave attention. And Josh Donaldson's wrong for poking this bear. And Tim Anderson, I think, got a little bit audacious in comparing himself to Jackie Robinson in any context in 2019 or whenever to begin with. So he brings us on himself in a way too.
Yeah, I mean, I think when he mentioned that he was similar to Jackie Robinson in Sports Illustrated, I think the perspective was that there's still issues going on in this country and in baseball with the fact that the racism still exists, and the minorities, including African American baseball players, are still feeling that, and they're and more Black Americans. African Americans would rather play other sports because it's easier to just not deal with that situation. So when he mentioned that, I feel like he was going for that perspective of it, that he's still the Jackie, like he's Jackie Robinson, not the hero that Jackie Robinson is, the legend that he is. So and plus it's something that was published and Donaldson ran with it, and Donaldson is a type of player that likes to poke and pick at people, and I guess you could say bully people. And kudos to the Yankees. The PR got right in front of it. They got to him, and they made, whether he wanted to apologize or not. I think it was good that he did. That he used the right words, and that he apologized to Miss Robinson, the widow of Jackie Robinson, and that he. And they took care of it. And the league did a decent job for suspending him, because I feel that's a media thing. That's something that was blown out of proportion, but there was some kind of consequence, and there needs to always be a consequence for even the smallest minute thing. Because it's not fair if the coaches get kicked out for a game for just coming out of the dugout and saying something, and then the players, they need to get the same consequence too if something happens and they get in a little tussle, So consequences are important, and that's what happened. He said something he wasn't supposed to say. Reaction. There was a reaction, and he got suspended. I feel like it should have been both ways, just because you shouldn't react like that when people poke at you. But I mean, that's up to MLB, and they did what they did. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't suspend Anderson for just being a knucklehead myself, but I'm not going to come off as a Josh Donaldson apologist here because I never liked the guy, to be honest with you. Long before he was on my team, he's always been this type of trying to antagonize people, and
exactly.
By the way, when he was with the Blue Jays constantly, and he's had some history with the White Sox in the past, but even his own teammates, as they haven't in the past, didn't come to his defense. Aaron Judge spoke out against him. Aaron Boone spoke out against him.
Yeah, once you use a legend's name that in a hero such as Jackie Robinson, when you use someone's likeness like that, it's hard to go against. Trying to go. It's hard to go against that as far as protecting somebody's back, having somebody's back, because that racial undertone is going to be inclusive. Like, and you just don't do it. Like, you don't talk about it. If you feel that way, you feel that way. But if you talk about it, what happens is, it gets out in the media, and then you're going to have a bigger problem than just this tussle that they had.
Yeah. As far as invoking the name, and listen, I mean, again, it was Tim Anderson that started that issue. And again, I agreed with everything you said about Tim Anderson in the context of why he was what he was talking about in 2019. But in no way should he have compared himself to Jackie Robinson. He's not the first. He's not the only black player in baseball. While it is diminishing, I think there's only, if I'm not mistaken, there's only like 7% of the players are black in Major League Baseball today.
I think it's less now because the percentage of the black and African Americans that are coming in are actually from the Caribbean as well, and and not like the Dominican Republic, but as far as like the islands, the U.S. Antilles. Listen.
Yeah, and I'm talking about African American, right? So again, that. People of color, you could say from the Caribbean and whatnot, have at least they've been labeled that way back through history. But again, if you're strictly talking about people with
black Americans,
the numbers getting smaller, and they are going to play other sports. I agree, but nobody should compare himself. Nobody should compare himself to somebody who broke a color barrier and went through the things. No matter what the racial situation in his country today, which it's still not perfect, we all know that. He's not going through the things that Jackie Robinson went through.
But look, as things change in time, so do people's feelings and how they look at things and how things are perceived. If Tim Anderson feels like he's been cheated in some way or been mistreated or doesn't have a fair opportunity in every aspect of what other players do while he's playing, then he could, then that's part of it, Keith. That's something that as a minority, someone that is not a minority doesn't seems to kind of misconstrued and not understand. It's not that, I'm not talking to you or I don't like you because your skin color or because where you're from. It's the fact that the opportunities that the other people are getting that are not of my race, not of my skin color, it's not the same that I've had, and that's still some of the things and barriers that need to be broken, and not just in sports, but all around the world, man. This isn't something that just happens in America, man. This is a worldwide issue, and racism is something that is embedded in a lot, and is something that probably won't ever go away. Be honest with you, we can try to be better about being humanistic and better towards everybody else. But if somebody feels like they don't have a fair shot because of the color of their skin or where they're from, then it's okay to say somebody like Jackie Robinson, because even though he broke the barrier, it's the situation is still a mountain that minorities have to climb.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. And Kenny's right here. I mean, it's time we all realize we're all on a planet together. We need to work together. It shouldn't be, white, black, Latino. It shouldn't be any of that, right? We're all here. We all got to solve the problems of this world together. And if we keep fighting each other, it's not going to happen. And one other thing about race, I mean, listen, not having lived through it, obviously, because I am not in a minority, any of those minority groups. I understand. I've looked at it from the outside. But But I would think that it's in some ways it's worse today, because back in the day, in Jackie Robinson's day, and even through the 60s and the 70s, the racism that was out there was much more overt and out in the open. Today, you see it, or you don't see it as blatantly as it's there, but it's in the undertones, and that is worse in a way to me than the people who are very obvious in their outlook on the subject.
Man, look, I just put it like this: racism stinks, and doesn't matter what time frame you live in.
Yeah,
and it's how you feel and your perspective of what's being done to you, or how things are going in your life. If you're not a person, if you're a person of color or a different race, and there's no way that someone like me, myself, who's Hispanic, is going to say that today's time frame is worse or better than it was in the past, because everybody has to deal with it, and they have to deal with it in their own way, form, or fashion. And I'm not going to disregard or even disrespect what people have done in the past. And that's just the way I lead. Racism sucks. It doesn't matter what time frame you live in, and it shouldn't happen. But it's something that we have to go through, and it's something we have to look forward and fix, and to be better to each other. That's
without a doubt, for sure. And we can't get in somebody's heart for sure. But I mean, as big a jerk as I think Josh Donaldson is and always has, I'm not so sure that this was a racially motivated comment. Do you think?
Yeah, I was going to get to that. I think the fact that Tony La Russa brought up the race factor kind of sped up that situation for this to happen in the media, blow up, and also to get under the skin and into the minds of some of the players on both sides of the both sides, the Yankees and I mean, listen, he's the one who brought up the word. It got escalated. The league did something about it, which I thought it should have just been blown over myself. But again, if you're the league, you gotta. This is another thing. You got to be fair about things. You're just showing people. You're just showing that it doesn't matter what you say, but you can react if somebody says something to you.
Yeah,
it's okay. No, it's like if two people were in a situation, two people should have been should have been in trouble. The same thing with Pete Alonso when he got thrown out from the pile from a first base coach. Those two guys should have gotten kicked out of the game. I mean, for at least for one game. That's, you got to show fairness and equality in everything, and including consequences.
Yeah, I have no problem with him being suspended at all. I mean, it was stupid just to say it, regardless of his intention. Again, right. I doubt very much it was meant as a racial slur, right? I really don't. But regardless, you got to be smarter than that. And he's not. He's just a knucklehead. And you're right. I said this last week, that a lot of this smells a lot like Tony La Russa kind of stirring a pot, trying to fire up a team that has been playing for pretty lackluster baseball. And it's kind of worked if that's the case, because they played much better baseball since last weekend. So
yeah, but you don't want to go to the extreme that he's going to, because then what happens is that you're a coach that has a player's back, but you're using the system to your advantage, and that's not the way it's supposed to be. So
yeah, don't misunderstand. I'm not saying that's the way you should fire up your team, but I think that looks for anything, and he's culpable here as well in my mind. But there's a question here, and I can't find it now. I mean, do you think that the one game, because there's some question about whether the one game suspension was enough? I mean, do you think it's enough? I think you got to send a message, and I don't think it's got to be a month suspension, but maybe you should have got multiple days.
I mean, the problem is that there's too many incidents to compare how many games somebody gets suspended for, players and coaches, right? And we're not, unfortunately, we can't gauge that. We're not the ones that will be able to figure that out, and that we leave up to the MLB and the commissioner. And I can't say that they've been doing a good job or they do a great job, but it's hard to put a number on how many games they should be suspended, man. It's not,
Well, MLB does not do a good job in any of these situations. So
for this situation, I think they were just trying to save their hide and try to lay low off the media and not be black, not being the black,
Yeah, and Kenny's comment here, I think that again, we've talked about it a little bit here already. Baseball isn't a game that the black athletes migrate to, especially today. And then it has turned into, the Latinos, Hispanic players, because that's what they grow up doing, right? Playing on the sand lots without even real equipment for a lot of people.
Look, I mean, what Anderson was talking about and having more, players involved is the problem is that even with the Black Americans and African Americans that do want to play in this country, it's always been about opportunity. And it's when they play in the little leagues, it does cost. One of the games that costs more to play. Also when you get into the college level, it's one of the levels that in college that minorities get less scouted for and scholarship for. So that's a big problem, And if you look right now in the College World Series, even Grambling State was doing very well. And I think they lost this in the first round, but they have athletic and great baseball players. Yeah. And because that university exists, we get to see those guys play. And I think it's about opportunity more than what it is about players like to do this and like to do that. I don't think we should put that out there and the numbers already say that, but the numbers don't say what it is and the reasons why these Black athletes, African Americans don't play baseball. And baseball has a problem. They're trying to fix it, but the way they're going about it is not you can see it's not working. So
Yeah, and Talon's point here, back to the suspension. I would not have suspended Tim Anderson at all. I just wouldn't have. I mean, again, he's a knucklehead too, but not in this instance. He's the one who was the
thing is that you're showing players it's okay to counter to react. It's okay to do that, and that's the problem. Well, they think that they can say something, get away with it, and that's not okay. Yeah,
you can't not defend yourself on the ball field.
Yeah, I mean, you could defend yourself, but again, you got to keep the peace, man, as much as you can. Sometimes you got to turn the other cheek.
Yeah, and what's interesting too is he didn't even really start the ball rolling. It was Grandel behind the plate, and it was
right.
Hendricks, the pitcher, who really started, that second incident anyway.
It was the fans. The fans were the ones that were going at it as well, So
yeah. I think they got into it more after the fact. But one couple more things before we move on here. Kenny does, and again, this is something we talked about as well. He talks about traveling for the Midwest where he lived for a while, and the way they teach kids to look at people differently, and that's what we just talked about, right? That's what's wrong. And the underlying problems in the country to begin with, and not just this country, it's other countries as well.
Man, if you even think about these Black athletes, these African American athletes who've made strides in a lot of these games, they play multiple sports anyway. Jackie Robinson is a track athlete. Even Jim,
great football player, UCLA.
Football player, yeah. Even players like Jim Brown. Some of these guys, they weren't just playing baseball, man. They just wanted to play baseball, and then Jackie Robinson, not Jim Brown, but he just wanted to play baseball and get an opportunity to play in the big leagues, and he got the opportunity. I mean, he wasn't the only one that was asked. He was the bravest one to come forward.
I think even today, as big as lacrosse has gotten today, but Jim Brown is still considered one of the greatest lacrosse players ever to play the game at Syracuse. So, and one more comment here before we move on. Dave, no doubt about it. We've talked about a lot of stuff, and what Jackie Robinson did even goes past that. He was one of the greatest players of all time. He's
a legend, man. He's just
He didn't just break the color barrier. He was also a great player, and
man.
It's a shame he didn't get to play sooner for sure. Let's move on. I want to move on to the next topic I want to jump into is Colin Kaepernick is back in the news, which we'll probably be on different sides of this conversation, which I'm always happy about. Listen, he gets a workout with the Raiders, which is a little odd anyway when you got a guy that you're trying to establish as your number one and you're bringing Colin Kaepernick for a workout. And I know he's not going to be competing for the starting job, but, I don't care if Colin Kaepernick gets a job in the NFL. I really don't. I could care less about his politics. I could care less about, his activism. I just don't think he can play, and I think that's why he hasn't played in 6 years. And that's a problem. Number one, bringing him back is he hasn't played in forever. He was He was on a team that had a tricked up offense, the pistol, and the league caught up with it. He was 11-24 in his last 35 games starting as a starting quarterback. I think he'd be in this league if he could play. And anyway, he's getting a shot supposedly here by the Raiders, and I know there's a couple other teams interested as well. But.
Yeah, well, the Washington Commanders are looking at him. Listen, Keith, the thing is, again, it's about opportunity, man. And his situation and what he's been through is something that revolutionized a form of protest, not just here in the United States, but all over the world, due to not just racism, but inequality and the treatment of other humans. Now, whether you like that or not, and whether it's political or not political, whatever, like, you want to keep sports, and you can't say that some of your favorite players were Jim Brown and all those other guys that made also their political stance.
Jim Brown, sure.
I'm sorry?
Jim Brown was one of the first black activists in sports.
Yeah, Jim Brown, Cassius Clay, who formerly Cassius Clay, now Muhammad Ali, even protesting the Vietnam War. Like, come on, you guys can't play at both sides. You either like the sport or you don't like the sport. But the politics, these guys are given a platform to speak their mind, and they chose their time to do it. And we don't have anything to do with that. Well, now he did it during a football game and protested, and everything happened, and he even started a trend. They did it. They were having things going on during World Cup qualifying. They had these things going on during Olympic trials. It got political, fine, right? But people still watch the sport. Was there anxiety and angst about it? Yes, but it happens, and people now speak their mind. And they do different things, wear T-shirts, wear bands, wear shoes. Yeah. This is Colin Kaepernick. This is what he did. Now, aside from that, the whole time he's been out, he hasn't had the opportunity to play football in the NFL, and that's what he wants. That's something he desires. I can't take that away from him. Nobody else should be able to take that away from him. If he's given a fair shot, he has to be given and that was the issue, and that's the issue. Giving him a fair shot to go out there and perform as a player and to get a job as a quarterback in the NFL. Now, this is the problem. The other teams that did give him a small opportunity, they weren't ever going to let him touch the field because of the feelings that were behind what he did, and that's the problem. That's the issue. Now all that's died down, and there's even an op-ed in the Washington Post that came out recently is saying that if you do put Colin Kaepernick on your team, it'll actually be better for football because of the merchandising, because of what happened after COVID and this Floyd situation and the movements that have been going on and the Black Lives Matters and all that. So, you can't have it both ways, people. Just let him play football. He's a football player. Let him play football. You got your own opinions about what he did and how he did things. Fine. That's okay. Yeah. This is a country that we have freedom of speech, and that's what he chose to do. And that was the consequence that he went through. But give him the opportunity to play football on the field, not just the practice field, because you're saying that you don't think he's good at football. But when's the last time you saw him touch the football on another team other than the 49ers?
I haven't.
Exactly. That's the problem. That right there is the issue, and that's the problem.
Situation he's had. It
doesn't matter if you practice. Listen, Daniel Jones looks like a superstar when he's practicing, and so does Wilson. But I'd rather have Colin Kaepernick on the Giants or the Jets than Wilson or Daniels. And that's the reality of the situation.
I'm not so sure, though. I mean,
but you don't know. We don't know.
I need to say one thing, too, because you said you a couple times. And I made it clear, just so I want to make sure you're not talking about me. I said I don't care about his politics. If he can play, he can be in the league. I don't care about any of that stuff. I separate the two. I know a lot of people can't.
Yeah, but what I'm suggesting is not you in particular, but the ownership and the management of teams.
I just want to be clear.
Yeah, no. I understand that because it's the ownership and the management of the other 30 teams in the league that are the ones that have to make the final decision whether he touches the field or not. Right? It's not the coaches. And there's been coaches saying that we don't know what he can do because he hasn't been in the game. He just shows us what he can do at practicing.
Well, why doesn't it matter what he was doing before he stopped playing? The team, again, he led a team to 11-24 record in his last 35 games since he had gone to a Super Bowl with a tricked up offense.
Because it's not just at that point that team was in and out and changing. Anyways, they came off a Super Bowl win, but just because they lost a lot of players as well. So it's not just the quarterback, right? Listen, if Colin Kaepernick could come on the Jets or the Giants and Will wins maybe 4 or 5, he's gonna do better than Daniel Jones or Wilson will do this season. I would put money on that. And he's older, and he's 34 now. He hasn't played football in a few years.
In a remarkable turn of events, it would appear from this comment, Kenny Gifford is agreeing with you that he is viable. I don't know that he is, because again, one of the knocks on him was he wasn't accurate enough, and the league is all about accuracy at the quarterback position today. You complete 59% of your passes. 30 years ago, that was tremendous. Today, it's not.
Yeah, but it's more of it's just as much as a short game as it is a long game as well. So
I got to check this one out. Please don't put him in the Brady's company. Please. Tom had made himself the best in this era and doing. I'm not sure.
Nobody said anything about Brady, but look, if you take the lower tier quarterbacks,
made him a great player.
If you take the lower tier quarterbacks right now and the teams that are struggling, whether they want to pick up even Baker Mayfield, I mean, again, being here in New York, I would rather see Colin Kaepernick in a jersey than Daniel Jones or Wilson. That's me. That's my opinion. And whether you like it or not, fine. That don't matter. That don't bother me. But what I'm telling you is that this guy has better statistics when he played, right? When he did play, and he could probably actually be better with the tools that they have right now on the team.
I got to get a quick good morning.
Oh, look, Sneaky. All right, Sneaky. How you doing, man?
This morning. How are you up so early when you do your show till about 2:00 in the morning, man? Good morning, Sneaky. Good to have you with us. Listen, let me ask you this then. So let's just say he's good enough to play, be a backup quarterback, let's just say. Right? There's a lot of backup quarterbacks. So is it the same thing? I mean, maybe this is where I guarantee you, this is my point, I guess. And maybe this is where we intersect and our opinions kind of meet a little bit. If he could play and be a starting quarterback and help a team win in this league, he'd have been in the league the whole time. That's my point. Maybe teams don't want to bring him in to play that backup role because they don't want to deal with the other stuff without him being in a lead role. And why put up with it if you don't have to? You get somebody in that's just going to hold a clipboard and be quiet.
Yeah, I mean,
that's where we intersect.
Again, he hasn't had the opportunity to step on the field after after the situation has happened to prove that he could be a starting quarterback or even a backup quarterback. They haven't ever given him that opportunity, and that's the issue, and that's the problem, and that's something that maybe the Raiders will be able to do if they keep him on the squad as a backup. Because look, this is I would rather have a backup. Would you rather have Hoyer or Kaepernick as your backup for the Patriots?
I don't want Hoyer.
You see what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying now?
Backup, that's for sure. But
do you get what I'm saying now? Like, who's the backup? Who's the backup for the Jets? Who's the backup for the Giants?
I will tell you, but let me answer the question about the Patriots first. I will tell you that I really do believe that if Bill Belichick thought Colin Kaepernick could help this team, he'd be on the team. Now, Hoyer offers the team other than carrying a clipboard around.
A coach like Bill Belichick? No way, because Bill Belichick is about him. He's the one who puts his foot down, and it's either his way or no way. He wants you to do the job. He wants you to shut up and play. That's it.
For the betterment of the team. That's what he does. It's not about Bill Belichick. It's about the New England Patriots.
Tom Brady left for a reason, and it's not because he's been underpaid.
No, and here's another thing I want to get to, too. I guarantee he wouldn't be a New England Patriot because he's not going to pay a backup quarterback what Colin Kaepernick's going to demand, too.
But look,
there's money involved here, too.
If he gets the opportunity to play in the NFL, I think the contract will be something that be negotiable because Colin Kaepernick has money, man. He don't need it, so he can work a way around having an actual decent the team can work around having an actual decent contract for him. But again, it's going to be comparable to a backup quarterback or more, and those contracts aren't that small, What are they averaging right now? 5 to 10 million?
Well, yeah, I agree. Yeah, but again, I don't know. It depends who you are and what your cap situation is, what you can pay your backup quarterback. But Listen, if he's willing to come in, I'm not telling you I don't want this guy to get a job.
You say you don't think he can play.
I think
you don't know. We don't know. Nobody knows.
But I said I think that's why he doesn't have a job. I didn't say he shouldn't have one if he can play.
That's like trying to judge a book by its cover, man. Like we don't know. We haven't seen him on the field. We haven't seen what he can do playing a regular game. And to say that because his practices are he throws the ball short or he's done okay that he can't start or he can't start is ridiculous. You got to see these guys on the field and how they perform. Again, Daniel Jones this week in practice was looking like he might be a better quarterback than last year. That's just practice, man. You got to do these things on the field.
But Daniel Jones was a better quarterback than he was the year before last year on the field.
I don't think so. I don't think Daniel Jones is a good quarterback, or maybe he'll just be a backup. Who knows? Listen, I don't think Wilson's a good quarterback either. So,
right.
This is a man who's willed his team to a Super Bowl. Give him an opportunity on the field to show a team that he can back up or even become a starter if something happens. That's all he's asking for, and that's the situation.
Kenny thinks he could compete for a starting position, but that's part of the problem too. If you bring him in to a place like Oakland, and listen, if he's going to get a job, Oakland's a place he's going to get it because Josh McDaniels that kind of.
Well, he knows Mike Lombardi there, right? Who was who helped the quarterbacks and the offensive system, and when he was in San Francisco, he's still in California. I mean, he's still on the West Coast near California, so that's a little bit of familiarity. He played in Reno, right? He played in he played over there already in college, so he's familiar with that area anyway. So being on the West Coast,
so Kenny thinks we're both on the wrong track. Kenny, I would have to say, if by your comment here, I'm on the right track. Carlos is on the right track because it's not just the coaches. Obviously, it is the owners that are keeping him up from playing. So
yeah, of course. Listen, the owners right now are having their own tidbit and issues, anyways. Right? You got owners that have to pay for the mishap in St. Louis. Yep. You have owners that have to come together to choose and vote out one of the ownership in Washington. The owners are dealing with a lot right now, man. And they got teams that are for sale right now, and they know that they're going to either lose money or make money on some of these transitions. They got some guys saying they might sell the team in the next year or two. So the owners, they got a lot of things to kind of get to right the ship. And then they're putting out a streaming channel, and they want to charge people $5 for content that they can see on their local channel and on some of their streaming programs that they make huge billion-dollar contracts for. So they got a lot of small things that they got to fix right now, and them worrying about Colin Kaepernick should be the last thing on their list.
Well, and again, maybe you're right. So I'm going to put you on the spot based on this last comment and some of the other stuff we talked about. Can Colin Kaepernick come in and help a team win? And I don't mean, win 5 games, be a championship contender. Is he that good a quarterback? If he's given a chance, let's assume he gets one.
Well, hey, I'm on the ship. Say, let's see what he can do.
I'm not asking you that. Forget that. Forget about that. I'm asking you if he gets his chance. Do you think he's good enough to do that? Or you just don't know because you need to see?
Right. We don't look, just like we saw these guys on the field not do good for the Jets and the Giants. It's the same thing that we're going to have to see with Colin Kaepernick, right?
Yeah, but I'm telling you, I saw enough in his last 4 years with the 49ers to know I don't think he can.
Are you serious? Like, he won 6 games and win, for himself on some of these,
11 and 24.
Yeah, no. Okay, that's his whole. You're talking about wait
a minute.
You're putting everything together.
You put those records on Zach Wilson and Daniel Jones. Why can't I put it on Colin Kaepernick?
No. Okay, you're right. But none of them led in any of the teams to a playoff or even an opportunity to be in the Super Bowl. So
fair enough. 1 year, 12 wins, and never came close to that again. After that, 11 and 24 after that Super Bowl season.
Right, and again, the team, which you have to be fair, was half the team was traded because of contractual situations. Right. So
I don't think he's coming into Dallas to compete with Dak Prescott, though.
No, I mean, Dallas has a situation that they need to get rid of either Ezekiel Elliott or pay Pollard, right? So they got their own situation they got to deal with.
There's a lot of situations. You know what? Listen, and again, I'll say this as we wrap this up. If Colin Kaepernick, I don't have a problem with teams giving him a chance to come in and compete, but don't put him on a roster just because you think there's some potential there. He's got to earn a job just like everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, but you're not going to know if he's, he has to go through everything that some of these quarterbacks are going through, right? He's got to go through the preseason. He's got to go through, at least play a game or two, and to see what he's capable of doing still. I mean, the man's 34 years old and hasn't been hit in a few years. So that's going to be a rude awakening right there, Mm-hmm. Just like when Michael Vick came back after his stint in the penitentiary, right? He came back. You saw that the speed wasn't there because he's older, of course, and then you saw that he was a different player because of that. He hasn't been playing. So
I will tell you as we close this segment out that I think if he's going to get a chance, Josh McDaniels is the type of guy who will give him a chance to play. I mean, he gave Tim Tebow a chance for a lot of different reasons. Tebow, they're polar opposites, obviously.
Right.
But he also went out on a limb there. It cost him his job.
Yeah, but the Patriots and the Jets gave Tim Tebow an opportunity that was false. They didn't allow him to throw the ball. They didn't work with his skills. That was on them. That was just them trying to sell jerseys, knowing that Tim Tebow was going to bring them some jersey sales.
He's another guy. Again, he'd be in the NFL if he could play, but he can't. So
that's not fair to say because they didn't play him as an actual quarterback. They played him as a gimmick.
I'll tell you that the NFL will bring anybody into play if they can help you win Super Bowls. They bring murderers, rapists, and everything else you can think of into this league to help teams win.
It's different when you're the quarterback, though. It is when you're a linebacker or offensive lineman or cornerback. When a quarterback is different, man.
That's fine. I get that.
Because how many QBs are murderers? You know what I'm saying?
I'm trying to think of one.
Yeah, that's hard. There's a couple of QBs that became alcoholics after they played.
Yeah. I can't think of one that was ever accused of a double homicide like one Baltimore Raven was. But
yeah, so
that's a topic for another day.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to another controversial figure in the world of sports. In the NBA this time, Kyrie Irving and the Nets. He's in the news for a couple of different things this week. First, he's got a $36 million, I believe, player option buyout where he can become a free agent, and the Nets are deciding whether to offer him extension because if he takes that buyout, they're going to get nothing for him. I don't think they could trade and get much for him anyway.
Right.
The question becomes: do the Nets do that? They're a better team. Are they a better team if they do? Which I don't think they are. Are they a better team if they don't? I think if they don't do it, they might as well get rid of Kevin Durant because this team is going nowhere because Ben Simmons can't even get on the court.
Oh,
I think the Nets ought to blow it up and start all over. But just for this topic, if I'm the Nets, I want Kyrie as far away from my team as possible. And I feel that way if I was any other team because he's a cancer on a team. The guy's a nut job who brings nothing but distraction to any team he's on.
That's true. He does bring a ton of distraction and a ton of backlash and a ton of craziness. However, Keith, do you think the guy can play?
Yeah, I can play, but he's not worth it. When he gets on the court, 29 times he played this year.
I know. That's
and even before he couldn't play because of the COVID situation, even before that, you didn't know when he was going to say, well, I need the next 5 games off for a mental break. I mean, Jesus.
I know. But we got to be careful how we say things, man.
I understand the mental illness and that's a huge thing to them. Not diminishing that at all, right? But look after the January 6th issues in the Capitol that year after the election, he needed a break to be able to deal with all of that. We all have to deal with things in life, right? Tragedies in Texas this week. People move on, and you shouldn't. I don't know, and the whole thing about.
But it's for him. It's something personal to him. He's of Native American descent. He's somebody whose family's been through different things. I'm not trying to.
But I'm paying you to do a job.
I know this. Here's that's the issue right there. That's the problem right there. If you pay your player should be on the court and playing. Yeah. And that's one of the issues that the NBA has right now, that they've let these players take advantage and these huge contracts that they've gotten, and I feel like mostly it's the agents more than the players, right? Because the agents are the ones that are working up these papers. they got huge money moving everywhere, and a player like Kyrie, who has not played as much as he should have for the Nets, and also even a player like Kevin Durant, a huge contract, didn't play the first year he was even.
Yeah, this whole effort that they made to bring in Harden and Durant and Irving failed miserably because none of them could stay on the court. It's not all Kyrie's fault. I get that, but he had different distractions than the other have. Those were all injuries.
The thing you have to sit down and see is like how many guards in the NBA can replace Kyrie Irving on your team that could take you to a championship.
Good point.
That's a small list. And that's a list that the Knicks has been trying to poke at, and they can't get one. They won't find one. And I'm gonna tell you something. That's few and far in between. There's a reason why CP3 is still playing, and they're paying him money because of his skill level and what he can do as a playmaker, and as a.
Where do we compare him to Kyrie? I mean, he's a better player, and he also doesn't bring the distractions to the team that Kyrie does.
But he can't take the team. He can't even take a team to a promised land right now, right? So that's one of the things against him, right?
Well, Kyrie's only been there once, and he admitted himself, by the way, that he cost the Cavaliers and LeBron more championships with his antics in Cleveland.
Yeah,
I give him credit for finally coming to grips with that and admitting it.
Yeah, I mean, like I was able to catch Perkins and Stephen A. Smith, and they were talking about Kyrie in this situation, and they mentioned how these players nowadays are running everything, and even some of these players, what's his name from the Clippers, his Kawhi Leonard, like how his how he has been able to manipulate his situation and all that, and how they're taking advantage. And it's hard. It's hard for the team. It's hard on the team. It's hard on management and ownership, because you got to pay these guys to come and play, and they're not playing because they either get hurt, something happens, and then and that's not for the betterment of your team, right? That's not what you're trying to achieve at the end of the day. If you don't pay him, you're damned. If you do pay him, you're damned.
So should the Nets extend him or not?
If I'm the Nets, I do it because I don't have options. I have very little options. I have Ben Simmons coming back. I know Ben Simmons is not a point guard.
Yeah,
he's not even a guard. He should be a small forward.
Point guard, though.
What?
He could play point guard.
I know he can't, and he proved that in Philadelphia, like that he can't play that position. And they need to stop.
Well, he just can't stay on a court.
They need to stop trying to make him something he's not, which is the problem. What he did in college was in college, and college ball is different. And if anything, he would be more successful as a small forward. To keep the ball out of his hands and make him run and make him go up and get it, or make him shoot. Yeah. That's it. Don't
want to shoot. That's part of his problem. He won't shoot the basket.
No. He'll attack the basket. The thing was that he was on a team with Embiid, and Embiid demands the ball, and then Tobias wants the ball, and because Tobias has a big contract, and he got mad because he went. That was a situation now that was going to blow up anyways. They paid too many players too much money, and it just didn't work out in Philadelphia. So that situation was damned also. And I've been saying that on all these radio. And when I get on, it's like, just blow that team up, because as long as you have Tobias and Embiid together, it's not going to work. Because one person's getting paid more than they should, and the other person wants more money for what they're doing, and they're not working well together, and they both are not listening to the coach.
Yeah, but I think the Nets ought to be in the same position with Kyrie where he is, and Durant not able to stay in the court. You might as well blow it up and start all over.
The problem with the Nets is that they have gotten way too many players that are long in the tooth. There's no injection.
Yeah, but that's all they can get. They can't pay anybody else when you're paying Durant and Kyrie and it was Harden the money they're paying them. You got to fill your bench in with whatever you can. There's no money.
Yeah, but the depth that they got didn't come out and help them.
The bench isn't the problem. The problem is keeping your big players on the court, and they haven't been able to do that. And why would you think, as guys, and Kyrie's issues aren't going away. Kyrie's Kyrie. He's getting older, and he's still going to have his issues.
I mean, if I give him a contract, it'd be 2 or 3 years in an option. That's it.
I
wouldn't give him more than 3.
I blow it all up if I'm the Nets. So
Because you don't know what Simmons is going to give you coming back, and Durant, he's going to give you, he's going to give you a little bit of credibility there, right? So he's one of the best players in the NBA.
So let's assume for a second they don't do what you're suggesting, and they don't sign Kyrie. And to me, if they do that, they might as well move Durant as well. So let's say Kyrie goes. Where's the best fit? Is there a fit for Kyrie in the NBA that you can see?
No. I mean,
his options are limited. So if I'm Kyrie, I don't take a chance and even buy out or opt out of my contract.
The thing is that he knows that a lot of teams are looking for a point guard. So he's going to try to find, maybe his agent will probably have to try to look for a team that's willing to get a player like him and to pay him. But, if I'm him, I take a 2 or 3 with options, because then you get to actually play the next full year, and see what you can do, right? Make sure you try to get to the playoffs again, and then maybe you can go on another team, maybe to a team like Atlanta or something,
So second part of this question is, and I think Kyrie's going to take his option because I don't think he's going to take a chance on. I think he'll get lowballed if he gets a job anywhere.
Yeah.
So
if I'm the Nets, I'm just giving him 3. That's it, and with the options.
Well, again, I'm going to assume they don't give it to him. So let's just assume Kyrie walks away.
Okay.
Goes somewhere else for whatever he gets.
I don't know where he's going, but okay.
If you have to move Durant, where does Durant want to play if he doesn't want to play in New Jersey anymore? Because he'll probably be able to dictate where he goes if that were to come to that. Where do you think he fits at this point in his career? When he plays, he's still one of the greatest players in the NBA, but he doesn't play that much. So where would he fit?
Durant?
With a team that wants to get over the top, I would think.
I can see him going back to the Thunder.
I would like to see Alan comment on that. He's a big
put him back with those young guys. Durant plays better with people that play with speed that are younger. He don't play better with the older guys who think they can do so much and then don't do anything, right?
Maybe
Durant's a gamer. Like he's very intelligent. So, you got to surround him with people that are going to try to be in the game, man. Not try to be the game, but be in the game,
Kenny thinks he should go to the Mavs. Mavs would be that would be an interesting
Luka and Durant.
That would be interesting.
And Dinwiddie, that'd be a good trio right there.
That would be a very good trio.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
I don't have a better spot than that for him. To be honest with you, I really don't. I mean, again, at this point in his career, he's got to stay on the court more. I just think the Nets need to blow it up. Let me ask you one more question while we're on this topic. I read in the Post this week, Mike Vaccaro had a comment about New York teams very rarely trade amongst themselves, and he had some suggestions for trades. And this is there's relevance here because he suggested that the Nets should trade Ben Simmons to the Knicks for Julius Randle and make Ben Simmons their point guard.
Oh, that's terrible though. Like I wouldn't make, he's coming back from back surgery. Don't make him something that he's not. You want him straight up, play straight up as much as possible. Point guards have to be down and run around. And that's a terrible idea as far as making him a point guard, but I could see him making him a small forward.
What about from the Nets position now? If you did that and you kept Durant and you kept Irving, you got Irving. So you got kind of a big 2.5. I think he called it. So you got Durant. He's calling Randle half of the big guy. Because
the problem with Randle is that he's been trying to prove himself as a number one, as a being in the top team in the top 5, but he's not. He's more of a 6, 7. Unfortunately. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, it's going to be very interesting to see what Kyrie does. He's almost, he's like the NFL. He finds a way to keep his name in the news all the time. I'm not sure why we care as much as we do, but
the problem that's kind of smart too, though, because he's like, again, the NBA is lacking point guards, and he's rated one of the best when he does play. So that's a big issue right there, right?
Yeah. Well, we got a couple minutes. Just a couple minutes left. What kind of odds and ends do you want to throw? Anything from the odds and ends bucket you want to throw out there? The NBA playoffs? Anything stand out?
So Golden State wrapped it up last night. That was
5-1. 5 games, right?
No. The Mavs did okay trying to stay with them, but at the end, the youngsters on Golden State prevailed. Right, they're the ones came out, played good defense, made the shots. Man, they were making shots left and right, and that just what kept the Mavericks from trying to come back. The Mavericks missed a lot of shots, and they weren't getting any calls in the beginning of the game. But the Mavericks just weren't deep enough. You could see that they're missing a player or two, and kudos to Mark Cuban for putting that team together, though.
Yeah, and Steph Curry does get the inaugural Magic Johnson Award as the Western Conference Finals.
He did. Well deserved. I mean, he's been going on
as far as Steph Curry and Klay Thompson came up big in a couple of games too. I mean, you see the difference in what they missed in Klay Thompson the last year or two, and since he got hurt.
Yeah, but you also see that Klay Thompson isn't 100% yet.
Oh, he's not quite the player he was.
And then you see Draymond. He has games where he's good, but then you see that he's getting long in the tooth.
They're getting long in the tooth for sure.
Yeah, so we're going to see probably a different team in the playoffs next year. I don't know if Golden State can, with the new guys that they have, it depends. Because, that Curry has a tendency, win a championship and then the next season miss a quarter of a season. You know what I'm saying?
Well, recently, but when they were on their good run, these guys are all, nobody can play forever the way that, they played a lot of minutes in those years where they were making a run. It's
good to see that those guys are playing the system well. And in Miami, on the other coast, the other division,
Celtics with a chance to wrap it up tonight. Yep.
Yeah, I got a lot of injuries, man, that they're trying to play through. So the Celtics, because they're young and fast, they might be able to get this and get into the championship.
So you think the Celtics wrap it up tonight?
I'm not sure. It just depends on.
It's at home.
Yeah, no, but it just depends on how the Celtics come out. If they come out tired because they play really hard and tough because they're a young group, and they don't come out swinging, then they'll give the Heat an opportunity to be in the game, because the Heat is a team with the most experienced players, and they have I think they have the better team defense, but the Celtics are fast, they're younger, and they listen to their coach, and they play both sides of the ball very well, and that's what's been keeping them in the games. But we're gonna see these young guys in Tatum and Smart to see them how they react after winning, coming back to play this game. That's important.
Very interesting. So who would you predict today? Since it'll be over by the time we chat again.
I think Boston and Vegas is a +10, right?
I think so. Like I think we'll be looking at a Boston Golden State series starting early next week.
I don't know. Maybe that's a tough call right now because I'm trying to figure. I don't want to bet against the youth of Boston and their great coaching that they're getting.
Great coaching.
But the problem is when these guys go out and exert themselves and do what they're supposed to do, they're tired. So no, it's the playoffs. Look,
it's been a long season.
Yeah, if you skip to the Hurricanes and Rangers game, you saw all these kids. The Rangers team is young, and you saw them that they were tired. They weren't skating the third period. So that happens.
And again, they do get tired. It's not that they're not out there doing their job either. They are. They're just, look, I go to work and I'm not as good tired as when I am when I'm fresh. So, I get that a little bit.
Sometimes you need a little extra time to get your legs under you, man. And especially in basketball and in hockey, that's what you use.
I think Kenny agreed with you so much today that he had to come up with something here at the end. So we'll get it.
No, I think Boston will wrap it up.
Warriors in 6 in the final. I'll give it to you right now.
Wow.
All right, guys. It's been a great show. Thank you, Carl, for coming in again today. Great job. And we'll see you guys next Friday.
Have a good one, guys. And
Sunday Stream of Consciousness.
Alan, Memorial Day weekend, and thank you for your service, guys.
Yes, very good. Thank you. And, It's more remembering the people that died, I guess, during this time. But still,
As
you're right.
well, yep. Just remember those.
Those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you to them for sure. And Alan, I promise you, we'll get to the Rangers and A's on Sunday. I just can't do it today.
We play the Yankees this week.
Have a great weekend, guys. Bye-bye.